Good footwork is arguably one of the most important things that we can have in climbing. Our feet are literally what support us the most while we're on the wall, so making sure that we know how to place them precisely and effectively is one of the biggest skills that we can learn in our climbing. Now, while we're climbing, there's quite a lot of different ways that we can actually use our feet. There's many techniques that we can develop that will increase our ability to feel confident and support our body weight with our feet while we're on the wall. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys 7 different footwork techniques that every single climber should definitely learn. The first technique I want to talk about is edging. Now, edging is when we use the very front of our shoe or very point of our shoe to stand on very small footholds. Being able to stand on small footholds is a crucial skill that every climber needs to know. Climbing will often require that we use incredibly small footholds to support a lot of our body weight, and knowing how to do so is a crucial skill to have. When we edge, we really want to focus on using just the point of our shoe. If you notice, most climbing shoes have a point at the very front, and this is what we want to focus on using when we edge. Part of why we want to use just the point of the shoe is so that way when we place our foot, one, we can put as much power as we can on our big toe, which is our strongest toe, but also so that way we can rotate our foot. A very common mistake is that when we try and edge, we'll put either the middle of our foot or too much of our toe onto a hold, and this will keep our foot from being able to rotate as we move. It'll also make matching our feet significantly more challenging if we don't use the precise toe on our foot. If you really have to stand on super small footholds, it can be very beneficial to have a slightly stiffer shoe. And you'll notice here that the shoe isn't that flexible. Having a stiffer platform in our shoe will help us be able to get more power and support off of really small footholds. A shoe that's super soft and bends a lot will often give us less support on super small edges. The second footwork technique is backstepping. Now, backstepping is really similar to edging, but when we backstep, instead of focusing on using the big toe or the very point of our foot, we actually use a slight outer edge on our foot. Backstepping is a skill that allows us to rotate our foot towards the wall, so that way we can also rotate our hips closer to the wall. Similarly to edging, when we backstep, we still want to try and be very precise and put just the edge of our shoe on the wall, which will still allow us to rotate as much as we can. If we go too far to the outside of our foot, then we won't be able to rotate at all. Instead of thinking about using the big toe of our foot, we maybe start thinking about using the little toe on our foot. Our third footwork technique is smearing. Now, smearing is a technique that we use to stand on really large surfaces that are often sloping downwards. When we smear, what we want to focus on doing is trying to create as much surface area with our foot so that way we can spread and have as much friction on a hold as possible. Unlike edging, when we smear, we don't want to just use the front of our toe, we want to try and use the middle part of our foot. When we smear, it can be really helpful to have a soft shoe that allows our foot to bend and mold to the surface of a hold. This will create more surface area and more friction on things like volumes and big fiberglass holds. It's really important when we're smearing to focus on dropping our heel as much as possible. When we drop our heel, it allows us to have more surface area on our foot, where if we try to stand with our toes, we'll actually lose a lot of surface area. And smearing is really all about trying to have as much friction as possible on the wall. Heel hooking, much like the name suggests, is when we use our heel to hook on a hold. Now, when we're heel hooking, the main part of the shoe that we're trying to use is the very back of the shoe, like this. Heel hooks are incredibly versatile tools that can help us rock over footholds or grab footholds that are far away, and they can also be really powerful tools that can help us take a lot of weight off of our hands and also generate a lot of momentum. A really important thing to think about when you're heel hooking is you almost want to imagine that your heel is like a hand or your toes grabbing onto a hold. A really good way to think about grabbing with your heel is to make sure that you point your toe. When you point your toe, this will actually engage your heel in a way where you can apply more force to your heel without it slipping off. As we get better at heel hooking, we'll find that we can actually heel hook quite a diverse amount of holds, from crimps to slopers to jugs and everything in between. Heel hooking is a really powerful and versatile tool. A common mistake that people make when heel hooking is using the outside of their foot, which will keep us from being able to rock over the heel as much as possible. We really want to focus on using just the back of our shoe and pointing our toe down, almost like we're trying to grab the hold with our heel. Our next footwork technique is toe hooking. Now, similar to heel hooking, toe hooking is when we use our toes or the top of our shoe to toe hook onto a hold. It's really helpful when we toe hook that we try and use a shoe that has rubber on the toe patch. Just like this shoe, which is the Adam Andra Comp, the more rubber that we have on our toe patch, the easier it's generally going to be for us to toe hook. Toe hooking can provide us with very creative solutions to problems. When we toe hook, we really want to think about flexing our ankle and our toes up into the top of our shoe and towards our knee. This will allow us to apply more force through our toe hooks. Our next footwork technique is a bicycle. Now, a bicycle is actually a combination of two footwork techniques. A bicycle is when we have one foot pressing on a hold and the other foot pulling on a hold. This can be a very effective technique for anchoring our feet into a position and also being able to pull our weight down and underneath of a hold. Oftentimes, we'll find that a bicycle is most necessary when either the toe pushing isn't good enough to stay on the foot by itself, or the toe pulling, like the toe hook, isn't good enough by itself. But combining the two and doing a bicycle can often make the foothold good. There's a lot of different situations where we might find a bicycle useful, but oftentimes they're most useful on very steep terrain where we have to try and keep our feet from either swinging off, or we need to keep our weight really far underneath the wall and in our feet. Our next footwork technique is toeing in. Now, toeing in is when we use our toe to grab a hold on very steep terrain. Oftentimes we toe in on footholds that are in-cut, like jugs or an in-cut foot chip that have space for us to grab the foot and pull it with our toe. Something that we really want to focus on when we're toeing in is really flexing our toe and thinking about our toes almost as if they're fingers, like we're going to grab the foothold. When we toe in, we really want to focus on putting our toe inside the hold, flexing our toes, and then pulling as much as we can with our leg. Toeing in, just like the rest of the footwork techniques we discussed in this video, will allow us to use our feet effectively on challenging terrain. As you continue to progress in your climbing and try more difficult boulders, you will find that harder climbs often require you to use multiple footwork techniques in order to succeed. Being comfortable using all of these skills is extremely valuable. I hope that you guys found this video super helpful, and like always, leave a comment or a like if you did.